Today's Mind Expansion Daily Fun Fact subject is George Soros and his radical influence on the Democrat Party. George Soros, a Hungarian-born billionaire, philanthropist, and political activist, has long been a towering figure in global finance and politics. With a fortune amassed through his hedge fund, Soros Fund Management, he has channeled billions into shaping political landscapes worldwide, particularly within the United States. His influence on the Democratic Party, often described as radical by critics, has sparked intense debate, with some viewing him as a champion of progressive ideals and others as a shadowy manipulator of democracy. As of April 1, 2025, Soros' impact on the Democratic Party remains a polarizing topic, reflecting broader tensions about money in politics, ideological shifts, and the future of American governance. This article explores Soros' radical influence, his motivations, and the implications for the Democratic Party and beyond. The origins of Soros' influence. Soros' journey began in Budapest, Hungary, in 1930, where he survived the Nazi occupation during World War II, an experience that profoundly shaped his worldview. After fleeing to England in 1947 and later settling in the US, Soros built his wealth through currency trading, most famously earning the title the man who broke the Bank of England in 1992 by betting against the British pound. His financial success, now estimated at over $8 billion, gave him the resources to pursue his philosophical ideals, heavily influenced by Karl Popper's concept of an open society, a society rooted in democracy, individual liberty, and pluralism. Soros founded the Open Society Foundations, OSF, in 1979, which has since donated over $32 billion to causes promoting justice, human rights, and democratic governance. His early philanthropy focused on supporting dissidents in communist Eastern Europe, but by the 1990s, he turned his attention to the US, where he saw opportunities to advance progressive ideals. Soros' alignment with the Democratic Party grew out of his belief that its platform better reflected his vision for an open society, particularly on issues like criminal justice reform, immigration, and economic equality. Soros' radical influence on the Democratic Party. Soros' influence on the Democratic Party is often labeled radical due to the scale of his financial contributions and the progressive causes he champions. Here are some key areas where his impact is most evident. 1. Massive financial contributions. Soros has been one of the largest individual donors to democratic causes, contributing over $128 million during the 2022 midterms alone, according to campaign finance data compiled by Open Secrets. His donations often flow through a complex network of nonprofits and super PACs, such as Democracy PAC, which received $60 million from Soros in January 2024 to support Democratic candidates. These funds have bolstered groups like the Senate Majority PAC and House Majority PAC, which work to elect Democrats to Congress. Critics argue that this level of financial influence undermines democracy by giving a single individual disproportionate sway over electoral outcomes, a concern echoed by some Democrats who worry about the party's reliance on billionaire donors. 2. Criminal justice reform and progressive prosecutors. One of Soros' most controversial initiatives has been his support for progressive district attorneys, DAs, who advocate for criminal justice reform. Since the late 1990s, he has funded campaigns for DAs who prioritize reducing incarceration for nonviolent crimes and reforming bail systems, often in major cities like Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and Chicago. For example, Soros contributed $1.5 million to Larry Krasner's 2017 campaign for Philadelphia DA and $2.25 million to George Gascon's 2020 campaign for Los Angeles DA. These Soros-backed prosecutors have been blamed by critics for rising crime rates, with some, like Gascon, being ousted in 2024 amid public backlash. Supporters, however, argue that Soros' efforts address systemic inequities in the justice system, particularly for marginalized communities. 3. Advocacy for progressive policies. Soros' Open Society Foundations have supported a range of progressive policies that align with the Democratic Party's left wing. He has been a vocal critic of the war on drugs, funding initiatives to legalize marijuana and reduce penalties for drug-related offenses. In 2010, he wrote in the Wall Street Journal that the war on drugs was arguably more harmful than the drug problem itself. Soros has also backed voting rights groups like America Votes, donating $16.9 million in 2021 to combat voter suppression, and has supported immigration reform, including a call to abolish ICE, which resonates with some Democrats like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. His $500 million investment in 2016 to alleviate the global refugee crisis further underscores his commitment to open borders, a stance that critics label as radical and detrimental to national security. 4. Support for Democratic candidates and infrastructure. Soros has directly supported high-profile Democratic candidates, including a $500,000 donation to Joe Biden's 2020 campaign and quick endorsement of Kamala Harris as Biden's vice presidential pick. In Texas, a traditionally red state, Soros has poured millions into groups like Texas Majority PAC, which raised $2.25 million by 2024 to turn Texas blue by building regional party infrastructure. This strategy, led by former staffers of Beto O'Rourke's 2022 campaign, reflects Soros' long-term vision of shifting the political landscape in key states. However, Republicans, including Governor Greg Abbott, have used Soros' involvement as a rallying cry, warning of a liberal agenda funded by a New York billionaire. 5. Influence through networks and nonprofits. Soros' influence extends beyond direct donations. His Open Society foundations operate a vast network of nonprofits that fund advocacy groups, think tanks, and ballot initiatives aligned with Democratic priorities. For instance, in 2021, the Open Society Policy Center donated $140 million to politically charged groups, including $4.5 million to Demand Justice, a liberal judicial advocacy group. This complex web of funding often obscures the origin of donations, leading critics to accuse Soros of using dark money to manipulate politics. While not illegal, this approach has fueled conspiracy theories about his control over the Democratic Party, with some on the right claiming he orchestrates everything from protests to election outcomes. Impact and controversy. Soros' influence has undeniably shifted the Democratic Party leftward, particularly on issues like criminal justice and immigration. His financial support has amplified progressive voices within the party, such as AOC, whose radical views on wealth taxes and abolishing ICE align with Soros' vision. However, this shift has also deepened divisions within the party, with moderates worrying that Soros' radical agenda alienates centrist voters. A 2024 Washington Times article argued that the Democratic Party has metamorphosed into George Soros, adopting his ideologies at the expense of basic Americans, a sentiment echoed by some ex-users who claim Soros-backed policies have led to increased crime and social unrest. The backlash against Soros has been fierce, often tinged with anti-Semitic undertones. Right-wing figures, including Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, have labeled him a boogeyman, accusing him of controlling Democratic DAs like Alvin Bragg, who indicted Trump in 2023. While there's no evidence Soros directly influenced Bragg's decision, his donation to Color of Change PAC, which supported Bragg's campaign, has fueled these narratives. Rights advocates, such as J Street, have condemned these attacks as promoting anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about Jewish control, a trope that has followed Soros since the 1990s. Soros' legacy and the Democratic Party's future. As of 2025, Soros, now 94, has largely passed the torch to his son, Alexander Soros, who has continued his father's political activism. Alex Soros' high-profile meetings with Democratic leaders, such as Tim Walz in 2024, have drawn scrutiny, with critics arguing that the Soros family's influence perpetuates an elitist image that clashes with the party's for the people messaging. A 2024 Newsweek opinion piece by a former Democratic operative highlighted this tension, noting that Soros-backed criminal justice policies have been an embarrassing failure from a public perception standpoint, associating progressivism with crime and disorder. Despite these criticisms, Soros' influence has forced the Democratic Party to grapple with systemic issues like inequality and incarceration, pushing policies that might otherwise have remained on the fringes. His vision of an open society challenges the party to think bigger, even as it risks alienating voters who favor incremental change. The 2024 election, where Trump's victory signaled a rejection of some Soros-backed initiatives, suggests that his radical influence may face increasing resistance. Yet, his legacy as a catalyst for progressive change within the Democratic Party endures, raising questions about the balance between idealism and pragmatism in American politics. Let this exploration inspire you. Ideas can change the world. Dare to challenge the status quo. What do you think of George Soros' influence on the Democratic Party? Share your thoughts, and check back tomorrow for more mind-expanding insights with Mind Expansion Daily.